Welcome to the It Girl Podcast, where we discuss living life like the It Girl. Our host, Erica Passy, brings on different guests to talk about their perspectives on all things It Girl lifestyle. She covers topics such as wellness, fashion, travel, and current It Girl trends. And now your host, Erica.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the It Girl Podcast. This is where we talk about all things It Girl related, whether it's from fashion to travel, social media trends, and much more. Today, I have on my guest, Jamee Larry. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I remember us talking about this in class, and I'm just so happy to finally be on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get started today. So for the first few opening questions, what is the It Girl concept to you?
That's a good question, and it's funny because I keep seeing it on TikTok, it's this whole trend and everything, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the It Girl is kind of just getting back to yourself and focusing on your self-care and just kind of figuring out what getting back to yourself, just essentially. Yeah, I
think that's been a very common thought for everyone. Everyone who I've had on, they've all been it's about being true to yourself type of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. What are some of your favorite It Girl trends?
I don't know. I've been really loving the divine feminine kind of, and connecting back to yourself and your feminine side. So what I see is when you're doing self-care stuff, whatever you're kind of lacking with your love language. So let's say my personal love language is physical touch and quality time. Yeah. So I don't know, I saw this TikTok or whatever, and it was to do things that are aligned with that love language. So for quality time, I would spend more time taking myself out on dates, or just spending more time alone, but also doing things that are productive and stuff that I love to do. And for I don't know, I feel for physical touch, doing yoga, or free-flowing movement, stuff like that, meditating, I don't know, I just really love that. Yeah, that's what I've been doing recently.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I think one of mine is probably gift giving, so I love to go shopping, do stuff like that. But yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Who is your favorite It Girl of the moment?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's hard because when I think of It Girls, I feel all my friends are It Girls.
That's always a good one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're literally an It Girl. All of my friends are It Girls. Because I don't know, you kind of just try to surround yourself with people that are very aligned with your own values, and I feel the people that I surround myself with, including you, are just very high value women that you were so driven to make a podcast, and so you did it. Yep. I love that, and just staying true with your intentions, your values, and just kind of living with purpose. So as far as that, I mean, those are definitely people that I think are It Girls, my close friends. I also really like Erin Krause. I don't know if you're familiar with her. No. She's she's kind of a girl who does surf vlogs and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's kind of what I look to get inspiration, because I don't know, I've always been into obviously surfing, adventuring and stuff like that. So to look at someone that does that and just kind of it makes you feel it, and I feel that's a part of manifesting, which we'll probably talk about.
Yeah. But we have a whole nother episode for that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's probably who I would say is my main girl, It Girl. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So today we have a very interesting topic that we will be discussing, and that is spirituality, which that is a very intricate topic.
Yeah.
Different people definitely have different opinions on it. And so that can include anything from religion, faith, just a belief in a energy. Yeah. All that. I think today we're going to be focusing a little bit more on meditation, energy healing, crystals, sound baths, karmic work, but even just a general sense of, we'll touch on religion essentially. Yeah. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. So, do you have any experiences you'd like to share about your spiritual journey?
Ooh, there's just so much to that. Because I honestly, had never understand what spirituality was until I met a certain like group of friends. So I had this like a really like kind of bad experience with like weed or whatever. Okay. Am I allowed to talk about that? Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah. So I had a bad experience with that, and it kind of led me on this like very like introspective journey of figuring out like, you know, this bad thing happened, but like, and like it almost just kind of like gave me like, I don't know, just like a whole negative connotation to it in general. And after that happened, I was like, well, how can I change this and just turn it into a positive situation? So I was very like reflective on like everything that had happened and stuff like that, and it just made me very like kind of just like go on this like spiritual journey of like finding out who I am and like understanding like myself. So yeah, and then after I came to Kalu, I met like this group of friends that I love so much, and they're just very spiritually in tune. And I think just like being around that and like around their energy, like it really like, I don't know, it just like is very interesting to like hear what they have to say about it, you know? So
yeah, totally.
It's kind of like how I first kind of got into it, I guess.
I feel like for me, so I first started, I mean, growing up, I wasn't super religious. I mean, sometimes, like, I think in high school, that's when my family started to become a little bit more like, oh, like, let's go to church, you know, like, that kind of thing. But we were pretty much, like, CEOs, you know what that term is? Like, you go to Christmas and Easter only. And so, basically, that's how we kind of operated until, like, at one point we did start going to church a little bit more, and then we kind of pulled back from it, whatever. Then I moved out here to California. And at the time there was like a lot of trends going on with like TikTok and stuff. They were talking about manifestation, that kind of stuff. And so I kind of like did get intrigued by it. And then I started to grow closer to one of my aunts, and I came to find out she's a massage therapist, but she also brings like energy healing kind of into her work.
Told me about that a little bit, I think.
And she works with crystals and that kind of stuff. And so I got to learn a little bit more about that side of, like, spirituality or, like, religion, even if you want to call it that. It's different people call it different things. But other than that, like, for me, like, I will meditate sometimes. I love angel numbers. I love that concept.
My necklace is literally 444.
Really? Yeah. I love the angel number 222.
Oh, why is that? Like, why does that resonate with you?
For some reason, back in, you know, like last year, 2022, for some reason I kept seeing like 222 everywhere. And then also it was the year of 2022, even though there's a zero in there, it's still like kind of there. I don't know. And then it means like you're in the right place at the right time. And I just loved that. So I really took that on as like my angel number for that year. But other than that, like I love seeing angel numbers. I feel like it is like a guide for me in 100%. My life, you know? I think it is kind of like my angels, like, you know, talking to me. And I've also recently tried out sound bathing. Like, you know?
Like I've never like done that. But I've heard of it. Like, what is it like? Like, what was it like for you?
Oh, it's so difficult to describe. Because it's just like, you don't know how to tell someone else, like, what they're going to experience kind of thing. It's all like individual. That kind of thing. But I found it very interesting. And I did it alone, not, like, in a group setting. And
which is even more introspective, too.
And if you have, like, a really good, like, person to, like, do
guide you,
do the sound bath, it's very interesting because at first I was like, okay, do I believe in this stuff? Like, how do I feel about this? But some of the things that, like, she said, I was like, oh my God, chills. Like, how do you know this? Like, what?
That's crazy.
And so, and it's definitely like just an interesting experience. It's time to reflect on yourself, even if you just use it to kind of like meditate or think or pray. I feel like my first session, I used it as a time to kind of like pray, because even if I wasn't ever super like religious, I do still try to stay in touch with like a higher being, and that I like use my meditation as like prayer. Essentially.
And that's what I think is interesting too, because like I was having a conversation with someone, and we were like, he was very like religious, and like I'm very spiritual, but like I also grew up Christian. So we both kind of like had that side, and we were just kind of trying to come to like, you know, they're very related but distinct. And I think that the word to describe it, like he explained to me, is like truth. So like everyone has their own truth, and whether that be like spirituality, Christianity, any other religion, or both. Yeah. So that's what I like to think about.
Yeah, that's my next like topic that I was going to introduce was do you think that whether someone calls it God or the universe or energy, truth, we are all connected to the same higher energy? Do you think it's like all kind of the same but everyone has just a different take on it? Or do you think that they're do you think like people just want their own like little subsets and like different takes on it? Or do you think that like maybe there is only just like one type and different groups are wrong?
Yeah, it's a touchy subject and it's hard to say like one specific thing. I know like for me, I feel like there is like this higher being, whether that be God, whether that be the universe, you know, it's all subjective. Religion is subjective. Yeah. And like you can think of spirituality as religion, or you can think of it as like a set of practices. Yeah. So when I think of that, what goes into spirituality is manifestation, journaling, like you were saying, like sound bathing, like stuff like that. So yeah, it's all kind of like intertwined in a way, but it doesn't necessarily mean it is a religion to someone. It could just be like they could be Christian but also like adhere to like spiritual practices. Yes. So that's where I think there's a lot of like intersectionality with that. And yeah, that's my take on it, I guess.
I think like the same similar like kind of thing. I feel like a lot of them are just like so similar, like someone who maybe is Christian compared to someone who's like spiritual. Yeah. Like let's say Christians like pray, well maybe spiritual people manifest. Yeah. Like you know, or like maybe they like meditate and they just think like about you know stuff, or like Christians have God, spiritual people maybe call it energy or something like that, or universe. You know, exactly. You know, like there's all these different you know things that are just so similar that I feel like oftentimes like just like putting labels on it, you know, that just causes that whole divide and everything. But like everyone just kind of like, as long as you adhere to certain morals and you just you know stay true to your own practices, I think everyone's doing good.
Exactly. And I think that there's a lot of like descriptive words to like explain it. So like when I think of like religion and like spirituality, Christianity, like all that stuff, I think of like this interconnectedness. Yes. So like it doesn't even, you don't even have to like, you know, lean towards one side, lean towards the other, but there, you know, it all comes down to like this connectedness with like this higher energy, this higher being. Exactly. So I think that that's definitely like a big thing for me. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you think this like whole concept of spirituality affects or benefits the rest of your life?
Oh my God, that's a big question. I think that like spirituality in itself for me, like I said, like is a set of practices. So like when I think of being the highest version of myself, and like when I like just kind of, how do I put this? Taking it, like living my life with intention. Yeah. So everything that I do kind of like have intention and awareness for like how it will affect me, how it will affect others. And I think that spirituality is just kind of like guiding like how you should live almost, and how you should like
helps you like truth. Stay grounded.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe helps you practice gratitude.
Yeah, that's a huge that's a huge thing for me. Like I like being centered in gratitude for everything, like and not like toxic positivity where you're like, oh, I have to be like grateful for everything or like positive all the time, but just like, you know, if something bad happens, like there's always a reason, there's always a higher good and an understanding for that. So I think it's more of like an awareness, like feeling your feelings of these like negative emotions, whatever you're going through, but also reflecting on it. Yeah. So that's what I like to think about.
Okay. Yeah. So, do you have any last thoughts as we wrap up this episode?
Ooh, I don't know. I just thank you for letting me be on this. Yeah, this is a great conversation, and I think that like, you know, spirituality is something that's very like centered with me too, and I know we like talk a lot about that. So this is fun. Yeah.
I am wrapping up like the last few sessions of my recordings that I'm doing this semester. Yeah. But I always ask my guests, what are some topics you would like to hear from me about like in future episodes?
Ooh. That's hard. I honestly would probably say like maybe like nutrition and how that affects people. Okay, yeah. To like live like holistically and kind of like have like eat like intuitively and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I'm so interested in that topic.
Yeah, like wellness in general, I think is just like a really interesting topic.
Yeah.
So
okay. Well, as we wrap up today's episode, I would like to say that you can find me on all my social medias at ERIIKA.3. You can find this podcast at YouTube at my channel, which is called It Girl Podcast. And then you can also find it at the link in my Instagram bio under my blog post, tab number 3. You can find my Mixcloud there, and that's where you can find all my episodes as well. Go ahead and follow me. You can like my videos, comment, whatever you want to do.
All the above.
Yeah. And yeah, so come back for another episode soon where I might be talking about fashion or travel or other girl trends. Yeah, whatever. And so thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the It Girl Podcast, a production of the CLU podcasting class. We appreciate all of your support and would love it if you would reach out to Erica on all social media platforms. You can find her on Instagram and TikTok at ERIIKA.3. Reach out and let her know what you would like to hear about next, or send in ideas for current trends you would like her to discuss. Thanks again. Look forward to talking to y'all next time.